Hello and welcome to another Nimble video tutorial. So this is going to be my last tutorial, guys, before the Thanksgiving holiday. I'm going to be headed back to Maryland for a few weeks, and I wanted to give you guys one last look and a full recap of some of the things that I've shown in the past. The nimbleJS framework represents my attempt to improve UI front-end technology in the way single-page web applications are created. The core of the nimbleJS framework is to manage, improve, and control a single dialog instance. And inside that dialog instance can contain any fields that the developer wants to include. The dialog represents the unit of measure, the unit of what Nimble can handle and operate with. That means the view and the data within it can be dynamic to support MVVM pushes of information to and from any REST service. I showed how you can call a web service from the interface and build this view dynamically with a drag drop editor. I expanded on that with a full stack view or full stack web widget that allows you to not only pull data from one web source, you can push that data to your own web server with a full stack widget. If you've seen that video, you can see that all the data elements that I saved the first time, as well as a few more, have been added to my database. But I can still call new records from the service. And all of this has been compounded because a few days last week I found out what my problem was, and I found out what my illness is. It's that I am using and have been used to using the builder design pattern while the world is stuck using object-oriented design patterns. And the beauty of a builder design pattern is that I have the freedom to use both an object-oriented approach on part of an application as well as a structured or modular-based approach on others, because my only goal and priority is the quality of the output product, not the source code, not how you lay out code or manage certain areas of text that formulate the program. It's about the end product. Currently, frameworks are focused on the syntax, the format of the source, with zero benefit on improving the actual product. And even less attention is being paid to performance and proficiency of the process. On my last video, I also made the claim that the builder design pattern has the ability to improve your productivity exponentially, and that's what this video is going to attempt to do. So over the course of the last 8 to 10 hours, I created and wanted to create a dashboard. And it started with understanding the digest cycle. If you looked at my to-do list tutorial, it's a great little snippet on how to use, or a great little example of how to use the digest cycle. In this video, I've stepped it up a notch. So the digest cycle is nothing more than a user-controlled loop of drawing through Nimble. The main fields of the digest cycle is the name of the dialog or template that you want to draw, the state, if there is a state, and you have an event callback function to manage view state for custom purposes. You can send in an array of collections, and I will step you through that process because this structure uses a key name reference so that you're instructing Nimble that this particular field name and these data types are what determine what to be drawn. But I'll walk you through that process in just a moment. The first thing I needed to do was create an items factory. Items factory represents one drawing instance for nimbleJS. It was a simple factory. I had Nimble create it. We used the factory register to create this items component or object, and it acts as your router. Once you have this items object created, the intent is to continue to build on it as you add new data types or object types that need to be drawn to the screen. In our case, we have a menu, we have panels, we have fields, and we have cards. All are drawing objects that are going to be pushed to Nimble. Today I'm just going to talk about the menu system. So this menu system will populate the orientation, name, and state, which match the name, state, and orientation of the digest item. Once they're populated, you can use it to draw. The items factory is was created by Nimble, automatically created, but after I edited and deleted most of the lines, it's only 70 lines of code, give or take. Then I decided to create a collections factory. The collections is nothing more than an array of items. It will, if you have a list of items that need to be drawn, it works the same way. It will create or use a factory item and then declare itself so that you can have lists that draw all at the same time. These are the base factories that would work with any digest cycle. Now that I've created them and I understand them, they are reusable forever. And they're going to increase my productivity for everything that I need to draw or create with Nimble. And you'll see that shortly. As with the build and design pattern, those two objects represented the engine. Now we need the director. In our case, we need a menu manager. The menu manager is a self-contained object that you're going to use to build a menu layout with the hierarchy of parent, child, and nested menus. So this object, I have some core to find menu by ID and index. You can clear the menu. When you use the get menu function, it means give you the entire menu list that you've created. But the cool part, of the most powerful part of the menu director, is when you use the get current menu. This represents the current state after you've expanded or collapsed any items. And this menu manager, I decided to also have an access level. So a menu, regardless if you've expanded or included it or not, will not show to you or be returned to you if you do not have the current access for that menu. It's just a numeric value that you can set to limit menu scope for a given user. The add menu function, where it now builds new objects and appends it to the menu list. Remove menu, you can set the access level, and then any prop, the menu object, as you push in, can have custom properties that you push to it. So a get and a set property for custom values that you want to add. Last but not least, the toggle. If there's a toggle, if there's a true, false, or boolean, you can toggle a property with one command. That's your complete factory. The type and 2DTL function is approximately 144 lines of code for the entire menu manager. And now we need to initialize the menu in the application. So on the onActivate of the dialog, which I'll show you in a moment, we're going to add these lines of code, which is approximately 50 lines of code, 45 lines of code. It will create a new menu manager object. You'll set the callback function, which will, in this case, control tick marks or rotate tick marks when things are expanded. It will have a click event so that when items are clicked, it will start to try to display, expand the menu or display other data in other parts of the app. Other views templates will show, this is your main menu routing system for navigating your application. and then the update menu, which draws the actual menu. It starts off with creating a factory of collections. You have your menu items that are pulled from the menu manager by get current menu, and then you push those items saying that the dialog name represents what to draw in this collection, and you push that to the digest cycle of Nimble, and this draws your menu in approximately 8 lines of code. This is a standalone menu manager or object factory that is built on the principles of the builder design pattern. It works so well that you can run this menu system in a console with Nimble running in the background. You can run it in the console of the browser and toggle the expand property of this menu system, and it will output an array of items that it's going to draw for Nimble. So it's independent. You can copy it. I can share it with anybody using Nimble, and it will automatically function, provided that you have the dialogues, the menu dialog templates that I'm about to show you. So let's look at part of the templates. This menu dialog is a simple menu dialog. It has a label where the caption will display the tick mark and an X button to delete. The state of the dialogues has 6 states to do: menus, groups, pages, subgroups, and subpages. As it switches, as these states are used, the same dialog will be displayed but in a different view. So that way the menu will dynamically change as it needs. So where will this menu be displayed? This is the main form dashboard. It's going to display in the left nav. This dashboard is using that layout widget that will divide the dialog into 3 quadrants. Then I can drag the horizontal and vertical bars to the positions that I want to size each zone appropriately. Once the menu component, the full menu component was created, it gave me a reusable, very fast foundation for creating other areas, other views that can be digested in the other zones, like this content zone. The base footer zone, I just added some buttons and some static content just to test everything out. But now that I explained the process of creating this menu system, which was a simple 5-step process or 4-step process, and less than 200 lines of code, I want you to really understand how quickly everything after that point, after this full complete cycle using the builder design pattern was complete, everything else just took off and became much, much faster to create. So let's take a look at the results. If we build this dashboard and auto start, when this is complete, I'll even take a look at the size of the application. The virtual desktop is going to launch, and we can start the dashboard application. Nimble has always had the ability to display dialogues in full screen mode, and we see here the menu dialog that I created, and it has mock data. I don't know if I probably skipped the mock data tab. So I created this, before I get into it, I created this script that adds a bunch of menu items and sub-menu items to test the actual component, and was able to play around with it first as an independent component, but now I just copied this piece of code from my content into the application so that we have a menu system to actually look at. So if I click on menu 3, you'll see it expand. The state changes to rotate that tick mark, and you'll notice the submenus are slightly different, and it has no X component because It's really just a page because it has a different view state. All the menus respond as they should. You can collapse and expand them. But the beauty of this builder design pattern was when I started to add new content. I created a panels page that I didn't need. I only needed to rebuild the director and add and edit the items factory. So if we take a look at the source, when I needed to add a new page or actually build a page, I only needed to build a new manager, which is called panel manager, and I needed to edit the routing capabilities by this array and maybe a case statement here for panels, so that this array of panels will be accepted into the application. So let's take a look at what happens when I added these panels to the display. As I said, the panels are the unit of measure, and what you include in them is irrelevant to Nimble. It's going to accept it and display it as everything else. It's already connected to lists, so the drop downs are populated. When I built these dialogues, they were ready to go for display in a digest cycle. Next, I wanted to create and show you how, instead of having a full panel with 10, 12 input boxes and drop downs, you might want the ability to custom build individual fields such as drop downs and input boxes. So I made it a fields page, and this was with mock data to push these values to a digest cycle. You'll see I only took time to build the first two areas, and this mock data is just says temp action. I just repeatedly copied the add field command to generate this data. Last but not least, and I guess the most impressive of this, is the widgets panel. This uses a standard surface dialog, and each dialog has a new widget. Each surface has a new widget pushed on it. We're looking at a nice little chart that's just animated, a YouTube video of accurate NSX, a full working copy of leaflet.js, the developer himself, another YouTube video of Nimble full stack, a full working copy of WebGL rotating a wooden box, and a nice video showing Nimble memory management. Which the beautiful part about this is these components still drag and drop, but you can always exit full screen mode of Nimble by simply pressing escape, and the dialog is a full responsive layout of all the web components, just as you would any web application. I wanted to give you a good look at how fast Nimble performs with this much content pushed to it. You can see it still runs as fast as ever, as accurate as ever, and how give you an understanding of how using the builder design pattern with a tool, a rapid application design pattern like Nimble, can really speed up both the applications you create as well as the accuracy of the applications you create. This much content, three dynamic digest pages, 0 JavaScript errors, 0 memory leaks, and a high performing web framework. Before I finish this video, I want to look at the mock data that I mentioned, because there's a point behind this approach in this format. You see that the mock data, all the mock data for each one of these are pushed in a single command. It's a single command sending parameters to a function repeatedly, and only the data is changing, outside of the fact that there's a hierarchy. This variable changes with its parent. but it's a repeated loop. And if you're a developer, you know that once you see something repeated, it means you can make a loop out of it. And if you can make a loop out of it, then you should know you can, store that data in an external data source. The beauty of Nimble is that every reference to every component, dialog, view, label, text box is accounted for by use of an ID. Everything has an ID on it. And even though many web developers, or the status quo for web developers to not use ID is to use classes as a frame of reference in your components, it's dead wrong. By having an ID on each component, it means that this entire application can be controlled with an Excel spreadsheet. So given an Excel spreadsheet that had these field names, and you can build other view states, these fields will display on these view states, and you can just simply say yes and choose the ones that you want. And this is a standard spreadsheet that you would probably see in any business app. And I've built this type of support where Excel spreadsheets are used to power applications many times in my career, but they've never quite got it right. So this is my approach to show you how it can be done right. You have your whatever fields or views you're trying to display. You can have as many as you want. And then you have a list of your key fields down the column. The beauty of this and the beauty of Nimble is that if you scroll to the left, fields left of your key fields, and generally the business only cares about the key fields in the view, but the developers can now map actual key, dialog state, source, width, and information directly to a Nimble digest cycle and have it loop through those values and display content dynamically without error, without modifying the code. It will be a perfect match because each element in the application is accounted for and can be referenced accurately. I wanted to give you guys a good look at this because this is a one-man effort, 8 to 10 hours worth of work, a rock star piece of JavaScript framework, a really slick IDE, and probably one of the most accurate pieces of code I've ever written in my career. I'm really proud of it. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I hope you guys appreciate the design, the work, the developer. If you have any questions, comments, or if you want me to build you something, hey, send me an email on LinkedIn. That's what it's all about. I'm all about learning. I'm all about improving. So you guys have a good Thanksgiving, and thank you for watching.